and welcome to the Teaching Corner. Today we're going to be talking about exercises, and I'm going to do 3 different videos on exercises or brain breaks for the classroom. I know there's some different websites and things for brain breaks, but in case you don't have access during the school day to the internet or don't use the computer with your kids, or if you're wanting specific types of exercises for students to bring about a particular result, I want to show you a few brain breaks that you can do with your students in your classroom. I would have these written on popsicle sticks and just have them in little bunches depending on what I was looking for, and the students could pull one out and then we would do those. But this video is going to be about calming exercises. So if your students are coming in from being outside, or they're just really amped up because they're really excited about something, or if they're really nervous, if you have really anxious students, these types of exercises will help calm the central nervous system so that they're going to be able to sit down and take a test, do whatever it is that they need to do. These are good for the student that can't sit in their seat. They keep falling out of their chair. They just have too much pent up energy, and they just need to calm down so that they can focus on what's going on. So the first thing is breathing, and just deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And you can play calming music while you're doing this. You can talk softly to the students while you're doing this. You can say positive affirmations. But the big thing is oxygen to the brain. When a student is really upset or anxious about something, if this is your brain and this is the front of your brain, the back is your brain stem. What happens oftentimes when we get really anxious about something, your body tends to go in fight or flight mode. And I had somebody one time illustrate it like this, that basically the front of your brain that does pre-planning, that helps you problem solve, stops operating properly. And they just go into brainstem mode, which is fight or flight mode. But when you provide lots of oxygen to the brain, it sort of helps trick the brain into thinking that you're a lot calmer than you are, and it thinks everything is okay, because if I'm getting lots of oxygen, that means I'm not having to run, I'm not panicking, everything's all right. So those deep calming breaths are often really good. The next one is the army crawl, and I'm not going to demonstrate that for you, but it's really good. The kids get on their tummies and they do the left arm and the right leg, and then the right arm and the left leg, and they crawl across the floor. This is also a good exercise because it crosses midline, and I'll do a video on what crossing midline means. Another thing that is calming, which provides deep pressure, is bear hugs. So they can bear hug themselves. If it's your own personal child at home, you can give them big squeezes. I have a son who he just really demands that kind of pressure, and if he doesn't get it, sometimes he'll find negative ways to get it, bashing into his brother or something. So if he's really having some of those moments, my husband and I will grab him and squeeze him, and that really helps calm him down. If you've ever watched the movie about Temple Grandin, she actually created a machine that would help to squeeze her and give her sort of a bear hug. And that's why some of those kids, they just like to get into tight spaces and things like that, because they need that pressure. Another thing that's good for kids is push-ups. Or if you don't have enough space in your classroom, if you don't have a big wide space for everybody to get down on the floor and do traditional push-ups, something that you can do is called a chair push-up. And they can do this right in their seat. So they just sit in their chair and then they push up, and you want to make sure that their feet are swinging, that they've actually pushed up far enough for their feet to be off the ground. But this is a very calming exercise for students. Another thing that you can do is wheelbarrow, where the student puts their hands on the floor and gives the teacher or the tutor their feet, and you walk them around. If you happen to have a student that is having poor grip strength when they're writing, their writing is very messy, they have a hard time, that's actually a really good exercise for their hands, because they're putting weight and pressure on their hands. So it's strengthening and working on their fine motor skills without them knowing you're working on their fine motor skills. Another great one is called push together. They just take their hands and they push as hard as they can. This hand is pushing this way, this hand is pushing this way. like you're trying to push through to your elbows. And then the opposite of that is pull apart. So you link your fingers and you just pull as hard as you can. Be really careful with this one though. I have had students who have accidentally let go and popped themselves in the chin. So if you're gonna do pull apart, make sure that their hands are in front of them as they pull apart. What this is doing too is it's providing lots of tension. Sometimes if kids are really anxious or nervous, it's just like this ball of energy that's just really, really tense. And when we tense up our muscles and then let them go, it has a very relaxing effect on the body. Another one that you can do is wall push-ups, or if you, again, don't have a bunch of wall space, your students can stand behind their desks and they can do chair push-ups like this. Anything that creates heavy work, we call it heavy work or a heavy load on the body, really helps to calm it down. Another one that my kids thought was kind of fun is called stiff body, which basically, again, we're creating extreme tension in the body and then we're letting it go. So they tense up every single muscle in their body. I tell them to make a mad face, just tense everything as tight as you can, and then ragdoll. And I'll have them, you know, just wiggle around and ragdoll almost to the floor. And we'll do that 2 or 3 times. Another one that's pretty fun, if you have younger students, maybe if you tutor and you have like a semicircular table or something like that, I used to do the bear crawl with my students. So I have them stretch as far as they can, and then they bend over and they get on all fours, and I would chase them around my little table and, you know, make mommy bear noises and things like that. They thought that was really fun. The great thing about that though is when you invert your body and your head goes below your heart, you're causing a blood rush to the brain, which again, when we talked about needing oxygen and needing blood to the brain, that has a very calming effect. So then they're able to sit down and do what they need to do. And finally, another one is crunches. So I won't demonstrate that, but just doing some crunches or anything that has heavy work. I actually worked with a teacher who had a student that was deaf in her classroom. He also had Tourette's, and he just sometimes literally could not sit in his desk. And when he was having a really bad day, she had one of those really heavy old-fashioned vacuum cleaners, and so she would let him vacuum the rug, and the vibrations of the vacuum as well as just the heavy work trying to push this big metal vacuum cleaner across the floor was really, really calming for him. I've heard of teachers, you know, giving a student a stack of books and having them move them or take them to the office or run an errand or something like that to give that brain a break, to provide some heavy work and to calm that central nervous system down. So I hope that was helpful. If it was, please like and share, subscribe and share with others, and I'll see you later. Bye.